everyone and welcome back. Today's video is going to be a first impression and it is going to be on the OXX Studio Matte Foundation. The OXX brand is available at Kmart and they have just come out with a whole studio line, and I'm pretty sure it's going to just take over Kmart soon because it's like taking up 3/4 of the makeup now. They've got rid of several brands so they can expand their range. But when I saw they had a matte foundation that is supposed to be a different formula to the $4 one that I love, of course I grabbed it because I'm always looking to try nice matte foundations and also ones that look like they will match me or even be a little bit dark, because there are a lot like the L'Oreal one that just doesn't match. So before I fully get into it, I'm going to tell you about my skin. My skin is extremely oily. I go very oily within about 3 hours of washing my face, because when I wash my face, obviously it takes the oils out, and even though I moisturize and everything, my face still brings out more oil. I have spoken to people at the chemists and things like that, and so far we still think my skincare routine is fine. I just have excessively oily skin. It's even to the point where some days if I have makeup on, you can still even see oil coming down here. Like, I guess so oily here, it just spreads out. And I find it very hard to actually get a foundation that lasts all day on me. So that is why I picked this up. So I'm very oily, my face does get very red, and I have quite a lot of texture because a lot of my scars are raised up. They're not like just a mark on my skin like this one is. They're raised up, so quite a lot of texture all across my forehead. I have quite a huge amount of texture. It has settled down since I started using a toner in my skincare routine, but it's still there. My pores are pretty big. I have noticed that they have shrunk again since I've begun to use a toner, but still pretty big. So let's just jump straight into the first impression. So this is what the box looks like. I think it is really nice. This foundation retails for $6. It comes in 6 shades, and to be completely honest, it does not go very deep. I would say the darkest shade might even match me when I'm fully self-tanned. I think that is pretty much the darkest it goes. This is in the lightest shade, which is called Porcelain, number 1. Again, it is $6 and it has a 30 ml. It's 30 mils, so I'm going to open it and show you. It is a squeezy tube with a pump on the end. I've never actually used a foundation that has this sort of packaging. I quite like it. I think it looks really nice. It looks very sleek. It seems to be a good quality packaging as well. Like, it doesn't feel like the cheapest squeezy tube type of thing, if that makes sense. So I quite like the packaging. On the back it does have the colour and what type of foundation it is, because they have another foundation in the same packaging. It's just they're more like natural. I think it's their full coverage. I'm not quite sure. I just saw this and grabbed it. The claims on the foundation are that it is medium coverage, it's long wearing, and it's matte. It gives you an... The only thing is, it's very contradicting. It says that it is a matte finish, but the liquid foundation gives you an all-day glow. Okay, so for some swatches, this is the OXX Matte Foundation in Porcelain. This is the designer brand's matte foundation in Porcelain Ivory. This is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Matte Foundation in Vanilla. This is the lightest shade that is in Australia. We do not have that extra pale shade, plus ours is in different packaging, which sucks. This is the Miss Rose Matte Foundation in shade 1, or technically it's called Ivory 6, but it is the lightest shade, and that is the Maybelline Matte and Poreless in 110, which is Porcelain, and that's pretty much the only foundation I own that matches me perfectly right now. If it's matte, it's not supposed to be glowy, but whatever. So basically the claims are it's matte, it's full coverage, medium coverage, and it's long wearing. So those are the only claims that are on it. Kmart doesn't sell their products online, so that is what we're going with today. I have washed my face and moisturized. I have not primed my skin just because I do have some foundations I prefer without a primer, so that is what I'm doing today. I have a perfectly clean round top foundation brush that I'm going to use on one side of my face, and my Beauty Blender Pro. This is clean, it's just stained So the only thing I hate about the black one is it is a pain to clean. Just because it's black. I can get all the marks out of the pink one, I just can't get the marks out of the black one. This brush is perfectly clean, so I don't have any other product on there to mix it in with it and make it look gross. So it doesn't say what the texture of this is supposed to be like, whether it is pore filling, blurring, stuff like that. The colour looks like it'll be too dark, but I'm still going to go with it anyway. So I'm going to use the brush on this side of my face and the sponge on this side, and we're just going to put the foundation on and see how it goes. Okay, so I've zoomed you in a little bit so you can see. Like I said, brush is being started on this side, and I'm going to, what was coming out? I'm just putting one pump on the back of my hand, so that is the size of one pump there. That I just wiped it off. Yeah, it's a thick-ish, very creamy formula. The colour is going to be too dark and definitely too pink, but we'll still see what happens. It has a nice scent. It's not too strong. I don't know what it smells like, some sort of perfume-ish type of thing. Okay, so I just used one pump on half of my face, and it is very light coverage. It's pretty much just toned down my redness. It hasn't even really toned down the redness of my scars. I can still see everything coming through. So I'm going to do one layer of a sponge on this side, see what I prefer the texture with. I see no brush streak marks or anything like that. It doesn't seem to be looking heavy or cakey with the brush, so I think it'll apply nicely with a brush, which is nice. It is showing a bit of texture on my forehead with the brush, so I will go ahead and see what'll happen with the sponge. I just put out one pump again on the back of my hand, and I'm going to go in and see what this one does. So I don't have as much scarring on this side, but it seems to be pretty much the same coverage on both sides. I just blend that down my neck a bit. I would not classify this as medium coverage at all, because I can still see all of, like, even the tiny little dots on my nose. I can still see all of my scars coming through. Normally some foundation will hide the little bits of extra hairs I have on my eyebrows. I can still see them coming through. Redness on my cheeks and around my nose, I can still see it, so even on my chin. So I would not classify this as medium coverage, but I also only did one pump each side. In terms of brush versus sponge, to be completely honest, I think either. It's looking a little bit more glowy with a sponge, so I'm going to go and see if I can build it up with a brush, just because I'm looking for foundations that will build up, or just I can put on with a brush, because I don't always want to use a sponge. So I'm going to see if it's buildable. It's judging by the formula and how it just sets down and looks skin-like. I imagine it would be. So I'm going to pump some more out on my hand. It's a very creamy formula, which I actually really like. So I'm just going to put some more on my brush and see if I can build it up. Alright, so I did just smooth over my forehead with this sponge, and when I first apply it, it looks very like cakey, not cakey, but just heavy and textured on my forehead. But the more I let it sink into my skin, the more it just settles down and looks a bit more skin-like. Really, in terms of brush versus sponge, apart from my forehead where my brush made it look a little bit more chunky, I honestly don't think there's much of a difference at all. Both gave the same coverage, both really gave the same look. So at the end of the day, I really don't think it matters. I personally might apply this with a brush just because I don't have as many foundations. I prefer to apply with a brush. So I feel like this one would be a brush one for me, which is good. I've found 2 foundations now I like with a brush. It is too dark. It is too dark. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm pretty sure it's the color that I think if I put my normal powder over the top and once I have my brightening concealer and everything on, it will be able to match. Now on 2 layers, I would say it's medium coverage. I can still see my scars coming through, but it's completely hidden all of my redness, but it's hidden my smaller scars and things on this side of my face and on my forehead. It's just these really big ones that are completely horrible, that even with like Estee Lauder Double Wear, I can't really fully cover them. But yeah, I've put minimal product over my nose. It actually looks amazing on my nose. Normally it makes foundations in general make my nose look really dry, almost like my skin's peeling off. It's looking nice around my mouth. The foundation did not cake up or like completely on my brush, which is nice. There are some foundations, so Maybelline Matte and Poreless, that will literally just cake up on my brush, and I only can use that brush like once and then I have to wash it again. Whereas this, I think I could get a few times out of because it's really setting. It is giving me a glow, considering it's supposed to be matte. It is giving me a glow, and I will need to set this because it's still tacky. I won't be able to blend products over the top, they'll just stick. I always set my foundations anyway because I am so oily. It's not looking the best in between my eyebrows. I'll zoom you in even more. It's really not looking the best in between my eyebrows. Just here, that is my biggest trouble area here. I have so much texture and just gross skin there. I've tried everything from like chemical peels to that black peel off face mask, exfoliators, whatever, and even like smoothing primers don't really help. However, it is looking really nice around the top of my brows. It's not caked into my brows, which I like because most foundations look horrible around my brows, and this actually still looks fairly good. Don't mind my brows. I'm letting them grow out so I can properly get them properly professionally done. So far on the claims, on medium coverage, it is medium coverage after 2 layers. In one way, that's okay. I do usually build up my foundations, and also I only used 1 pump each side the first layer. It is looking beautiful pretty much. It is looking very skin-like. It's not emphasizing it's not emphasizing pores either, but it's not fully blurring. Long wear, can't tell you that at the moment. And a matte finish. It's not really matte. It is still fairly glowy. This is not the most dewy foundation that I own, but you can definitely see there's a glow on my skin. And brush versus sponge side, it doesn't really matter. They're both glowing just the same. Sometimes the sponges that I use give my face a very big glow. But so far, it's not. So far, apart from the colour, I'm actually really liking it. So I'm going to go and do the rest of my makeup and I'll be right back. The time is currently 9:46. I finally changed the background on my phone. My camera needs charging because it's literally about to die, and I will be right back. Alright, I am back and it literally looks like it's about to rain again. So I apologise for the fluctuating light in this video. Sometimes it's going to be more orange because the sun's out, but it's going to bucket down any minute. So the rest of my makeup is done. I'm going to tell you what's on the rest of my face in a minute, but everything blended out totally fine. I set it, of course, and it did change the colour. I made it a little bit lighter. You can still tell I am wearing a foundation that is slightly darker anyway, but to be completely honest, seeing as it's cold, I'm probably, once I straighten my hair, I'm going to wear it down, so it's not going to be that much of an issue. If I wanted it to be perfect, the foundation is a bit dark. I think I brought my bronzer down a little bit too low as well, so that's probably why, and my bronzer's a bit orange as well, so that's probably why. But it all looks really nice at the moment. I did only put highlighter on the tops of my cheekbones, a tiny bit on the tip of my nose, and a little bit on my cupid's bow and on my brow bone. I did minimal highlight just so I can tell if it's oil that comes through onto my face or if it's highlight. I was going to skip the highlight on my nose and then just out of habit I put a bit on, so oops. But right now it's looking really nice. It's looking very skin-like. My concealer did cake up a little bit around my nose, but that always happens with everything no matter what. But it's even looking a bit smoother between my eyebrows. It's just looking really nice. It's not emphasizing the lumps of all of my scars. I didn't put extra concealer over them, only underneath my eyes, which it probably looks a bit weird at the moment because under my eyes is super bright and the center of my face isn't highlighted. But I also did not highlight the center of my face because the concealer that I used, which is my Focallure Big cover, contains coconut oil, and it does make my face a bit more oily, and I don't want that to mess with the foundation. So I only did underneath my eyes and mixed my normal powders together, which is probably why under my eyes look a bit funny. Okay, the stuff that's on the rest of my face, so I mentioned the Focallure Big Cover Concealer, my two normal under eye powders, I love them. On my face, I did use the Super Stage Fit Sugarbox powder that I've been using for ages. This is pretty much my everyday powder, so I decided to use this. Also, this would have lightened my foundation a bit more as opposed to the Model Co powder I used to use. For bronzer, I have my Too Faced Milk Chocolate Soleil. Blush, I use this little Rimmel one in Pink Rose. I love it. It's just to give a little bit of a flush. Highlight is Anastasia Starlight. I just thought I'd whip this out again because I love it. On my eyes and my brows, I've got the e.l.f. brow kit, so I obviously use the powder and the gel on my brows, and then the powder just through my crease and under my eyes. And my mascara is the e.l.f. one and the Covergirl one I've been using lately. And for my lips, I just use the eBay $1 liquid lipstick in number 30. It's the nude shade. So that was what was on my face. The time, where's my phone, is currently 10:15. So I will check back with you in a few hours. Hello everyone, it is currently 2:15. Actually, it's 2:17. I really meant to do a check-in like 2 hours ago, but I got sidetracked. I edited a whole video. I have pre-uploaded that. I have emailed off 2 assignments that were, they're not due for like another 5 days, but I've emailed those off. And I finished another one, and I am about 2/3 of the way through the last of my work I'm supposed to complete before I go back in 3 days. This stuff isn't completely mandatory to have finished, but still want to finish it anyway. That's besides the point. So I put this on at like, I want to say 9:30. Yeah, 9:30, something like that. So that means it's been on for 4.5 hours. So at the moment that's pretty good wear, and right now it is actually looking really good still. It has worn off a bit under my nose here, but that is because I sneezed like crazy earlier and my nose was running so bad I couldn't just wipe it. I had to like actually blow my nose. The colour has got a little bit darker, so it's oxidized even more, but the fact I have my hair down, you can't really tell. I just think with this foundation I shouldn't use the what's it called, Too Faced bronzer. I think it's just a little bit too orange. It makes it look like it's just worse. But I am going a bit oily. I want to try and sit back or something because it's so glary right now, and my camera doesn't look like it seems to be focusing on my face very much. Like it's really not doing it. There we go, that seems to be a bit better. So this pimple here is coming through, but that's because of when I wipe my nose. But I am going a bit oily on my chin and my face, but to be completely honest, this is not as bad as what I have been lately. I'm sorry if it seems like I keep looking up. I'm looking in my viewfinder as my mirror. But yeah, I'm going a bit oily, but to be completely honest, this is not as bad as what I normally am at this stage. It's all still intact. None of the foundations actually come off because I'm oily. That came off like an hour after I filmed my last clip. But yeah, it's come off a little bit on my upper lip and that because I wiped my lip colour off. And my forehead, it's looking a bit more textured on my forehead. So I think next time I will just use a smoothing primer. That is a mascara dot, and seeing as I'm actually not really going anywhere today, couldn't be bothered to get rid of it. That scar's peeping through. those are sort of coming through. I blended this foundation down my neck, so you can see the difference. It's making me look so pale, but the issue I have is I can blend foundation down my neck till it's like pretty much down here, and it doesn't matter if I blend it with a sponge, a brush, my fingers, and I will set the hell out of it with so much powder, but it literally doesn't stick. Like, I can blend it and 5 minutes later it's just gone. So I am left with that ring around my face. So it doesn't matter what foundation, even my Estee Lauder Double Wear still won't stick to my neck. That is the issue I have because most foundations just completely wear off my neck. They don't even bother to stick. Even in some cases, like this foundation didn't even want to blend onto my neck. It's literally like I put a lump of it here and tried to blend it down later on, and it literally just looked like I was brushing my face. It just doesn't, pigment doesn't stay down here, blending bronzer down my neck doesn't work, even putting powder there. For some reason, I can't blend stuff down my neck. It just doesn't stick, it just doesn't stay, and I've put primer there to see if it makes a difference, and it doesn't. So I always end up with this like a line around here, but really at the moment, apart from the colour, it seems to be fine. It is sort of sinking into the little lines here. That bad. It seems to be fairly smooth around my mouth here. So yeah, blush and bronzer and highlighter is all still on as far as I can tell, so I'll check back in pretty much at the end of the night. So I've just been sitting here for the past 2 minutes trying to record and realised I hadn't even clicked the recording button on my camera. It is currently 5 PM and it's the end of the day. I'm just going to wash this off. It's been on since like 9:30, so to be completely honest, I think that's enough. I don't usually wear my makeup for a long period of time like that anyway. If I'm going to go to work for like 9 hours or something, I will make sure I don't wear makeup. So really nothing much has changed from earlier, except the scars that are down here are a little bit more prominent. They're showing through a bit more. It's creased along my upper lip and my cupid's bow, and some of the creasing in here has gotten worse. It's not actually creasing, it's just like it highlights where my face naturally dips in there. Obviously my oils got a little bit worse, but this is absolutely nothing compared to what I am with some other foundations. So right now I'm actually very impressed with this. It is showing a lot more of the texture along my forehead. Doesn't look the best, but it hasn't sunk into that crease along there as bad as most foundations normally do. It's not looking as bad in between my eyebrows as most foundations normally do. And yeah, it's looking quite nice. If I really wanted to, I would just repowder this a bit and go out in public. Like, that's enough for me right now. Because when I was blowing my nose earlier, some of the foundation rubbed off my nose, and now I'm a bit more oily. It's a little bit more noticeable on my nose. So it's looking like I've got completely flawless under eyes and like a big red nose. I don't know how well that's coming through on camera. My viewfinder is a bit far away, but to be completely honest, not much has changed. My bronzer, my blush, highlighter is all still on. Really, the only thing is it's just I'm a bit more oily. So at the end of the day, the question is, would I buy this again? Would I wear it again? And for only $6, the answer is yes. I would put on a more mattifying primer. I would possibly even just, if I was going to use this, mix in a tiny bit of Estee Lauder Double Wear, the L'Oreal Matte Foundation, something like that. Because it is too dark for me, I might even mix in my white foundation, something like that. Although my white foundation is very dewy. But apart from the colour, I would definitely wear this again. It looks really nice. It blends in perfectly, brush or sponge. I personally would just use a brush with this one because I don't have many foundations I prefer a brush with. But for $6, I think this is great. I know there are so many people, YouTubers and just people on Instagram and that, who would think this is probably one of the worst foundations they have ever tried because I'm going so oily. It's not as full coverage as it says it is. The colour's off, but really apart from the colour, I really like it because a little amount of oil that's on my face is nothing compared to what I normally have. So I like the packaging, the squeezy tube with the pump, and you can really control the pump for how much product you like, which I think is fantastic. So I can just pump out a really little bit if I need just a little bit more. It has very, very natural coverage on one layer. So I think if I had a more full coverage foundation, or even something like the Bare Minerals powder, putting on one layer of this and then the powder over, like obviously concealer and stuff, and then the powder over the top, I think that would work perfectly. Particularly if I use the Bare Minerals matte version, I think that would be very, very nice. But the fact that my bronzer, my blush and my highlight is all still on means a lot as well, because sometimes they fade quite a bit. But yeah, really it looks nice over my nose. It doesn't look as bad in between my eyebrows as most, and I would wear this again. I hope you all really enjoyed this video. Please check out my description box down below for my social media sites and other information, things like that. The makeup that I wore today, clothing and stuff, if I can find it. They won't be linked just because they are from several years ago, but I will list them down below, and everything else. So while you are also down there, check out the subscribe button, which is in the corner down there. That would be very appreciated. I was about to point to that corner, but then I remembered, no, it's my right hand. Anyway, so thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!